Hi, I'm Tim. I'm with a company called United Layer. I have a vocation side and an avocation side that I try to do. The vocation side is United Layer. The avocation side is trying to address some digital divide issues, and particularly around San Francisco. Ran into a bit of a problem, or the city ran into a bit of a problem. Mayor's Office of Community Development wanted to try to turn up broadband in a number of their housing developments around San Francisco. For some strange reason, broadband is not available in those areas because the incumbents say, gee, we can't get a return on the investment for that space. So they're not going to put D-slams and COs, they're not going to roll out their Comcast broadband into that area, things like that. So about 4% of San Francisco is not lit with broadband. You can dial up, but that's about it. And this is a picture of San Francisco. If you look at the very right-hand, lower right-hand side, that is the area. That's called the Bayview's Hunters Point, where basically, as most cities do, they try to coordinate, prostitution, drug dealing, not necessarily all in one place, but they always try to corner it into various places. In the case of low economic status, you get sort of shoved into that corner over there. So, oh, there's supposed to be a picture there. Anyway, QuickTime. Yes, I did. Well, anyway, there's a picture right there. If you just sort of imagine it in your head, Alice Griffith, which is the housing project, which is also known as Double Rock, rather the most notorious housing project in San Francisco, is only about 4 blocks away from 200 Paul Avenue, which is where my colo is. And they came up to me and said, well, how are we going to do this? And I said, gee, I bet you I could put a 5.8 gigahertz link in between those two sites. Actually, I sort of jumped ahead a little bit. The city, because they were unable to get broadband in that area, the only option that they had was putting in a couple DS1s. Well, guess what? It was going to be $650 per DS1 for $1,300 a month. I was able to get a quote for a Pac Bell DS1 with bandwidth in the middle of the Sierra Nevadas for $500 a month. So I guess they're not really trying to help out or SBC is not really trying to help out the digital divide that much if they're trying to charge us for just 1 mile for $650. So they almost killed the project off. They just didn't have this MRC. This is kind of a pet project by the Mayor's Office of Community Development. So getting back to where I was, the solution. 5.8 gigahertz links. These are signaled with signaling rate 108 megabits, so you can get upwards of about 50 megabits over this stuff. Shooting over the rooftops wouldn't work due to Fresnel zone clearance. Everybody know what Fresnel zone clearance is? Some people over there. Okay. That means that there's a space around the microwave path that you have to clear. In other words, as the path goes out towards the middle, it gets really fat and then it gets skinnier at the ends, and you have to make sure that buildings don't sort of cut into that path or it'll attenuate the clearance. So we needed somebody in a high place. We needed to bounce this off somebody. Well, that's when the Church of the Latter-day Saints came in. Get it? Anyway. Oh, here's a shot. I don't know if you can, if this one shows up. Cool. If you look really carefully, you'll see a bunch of satellite dishes way in the back, sort of on the left-hand side on the horizon there, and that's 200 Paul. And this is seeing it from the Alice Griffith Opportunity Center. There's the place in high, that's the person in high places, so to speak, or at least the place in high places. Happens to be in between Alice Griffith and us is Coit AM, which is owned by the, up until recently, Bonneville International, which is the Mormons. And they really like doing things like this. They really are into just doing public service and trying to make a good thing out of it. So they were very kind and helped us put about 4 antennas up on this side here. This is looking down to 200 Paul. If anybody's been to 200 Paul, you probably recognize that. So this is a great shot down to there. And this is a shot of Alice Griffith. Sort of off on the left is the actual housing project itself. You'll see sort of an orange or red building kind of in the center of the picture. That's a new building called the Opportunity Center that they just built where they're going to be doing classes and such. So our goal was to try to get a microwave shot into that location. Here's another shot of that building. This is an overhead, actually thanks to Microsoft, whatever TerraView thing is. I got this, and this is the building. It's actually kind of a cool building. It was actually designed by Julia Morgan, and Julia Morgan was William Randolph's sort of pet architect, and she designed San Simeon and such. So this was built in 1937, so it has this really cool Art Deco speed lines and everything else on it and such. But of course, nobody goes there, and it's all covered with kind of graffiti at this point. But it's a neat site if you ever can get up there. On the bottom, you can see the Examiner's crest. That was his newspaper, and that's on the above the door there. Oh, rats. Okay.
For those following along online, the pictures do show up if you download the presentation from the website.
If you get the PDF. So the work on this is making sure that the sight lines would work, and we did that basically with those pictures that you saw. The technical issues were zero. I mean, getting the gear, getting it deployed, and everything else, most of the time is just dealing with various attorneys. I do have to thank Joe Hubner of Digital Research, or Digital, going back to my old days of CPM, Digital Realty Trust, as helping push this along. But Digital Realty Trust, as will a large colos and such, have a bastion of attorneys that you have to run things by. But once convinced, it got through, and I'd like to thank folks for that. There's this is the elevator parapet, which is on top of 200 Paul, and you can see those two little triangular dishes in the center of the picture. Those are the ones, or actually panels, those are the ones that are aiming up towards the EM site right there. This is our deployment at the Alice Griffith. That's Gavin Otto, and he works with me. The one triangle on the far right is the one that's shooting back up to Coit AM, and we have one on the ground there that we're in the middle of the install. You can see the Cisco 5.8 gigahertz panel antenna that's just to the left of ours, mounted on the roof there. What happens is the signal gets to the Alice Griffith site and then gets shot out from this 5.8 gigahertz panel to the housing development, which is basically just across the street. And then they have 2.4 gigahertz, 802.11bg access points scattered all around, as well as wired connections. And that's how they get it from the Opportunity Center to the actual housing project. It was a big to-do. There's our beloved mayor and the governor's first lady sitting there. And anyway, actually it was very, very easy to deploy, again, technically. There's actually no deployment differences other than you may want to watch for carrier noise or signal noise, just in case somebody goes up there and kicks the antenna so it's not aligned anymore. You run into a problem where somebody comes up and starts using the same frequency you use, and so you look for interference and such. Weather can change things like that. We use standard network tools like Hacktea and Nagios. This is some graphs that I pulled down yesterday from this link. As you can see, they don't really use that much. Although this is 100 units, so you figure there's about 200 people that are in this site. So this is the daily graph and the weekly graph there. Cost was about $4,000 for the radios. San Francisco Mayor's Office of Community Development paid for that. They saw it as a big win because they effectively can return their investment after about 4 months or so. Donated switches. We donated some. Actually, Cisco donated a bunch of gear at the Alice Griffith Opportunity Center. Donated bandwidth. We're donating bandwidth. You can see how much bandwidth it's costing us. Figure $20 a megabit for we're paying $40 or something a month. We also scored this really nice lease for the tower, which is 8 years at $1 a year. So thank you very much, Bonneville. And the cost of the whole installation was, again, recovered in less than 4 months over AT&T's DS1s. Next site we're going to be firing up, there's another housing project that's basically directly over the hill from that one, which we can see again from the Coit transmitter site, one called Hunter's View, and then there's a bunch of housing developments in an area called Visitation Valley. And to get that one, we're actually putting in another 5.8 gigahertz link that goes up to Mount San Bruno, which is that big hill just north of the airport if you ever fly into San Francisco. And from that, we're going to be able to cover pretty much most of San Francisco with it. Also, there's a bunch of... Oh, okay. There's a bunch of community centers that we're going to be lighting up, and really, it's not that costly. It's basically about $500 for the CPE, to install this and shoot it back up to the Coit transmitter site. Anyway, that's just a quickie. I just wanted to say that this is one of those things where all the technical things just fell into place. I'm not saying that it's going to be as easy for your deployment if you do this sort of thing. I do encourage you to look at how you can make your community better and try to get people plugged into the net, the people that usually can't afford it, though, too. Any questions?
We have time for a couple really quick questions. And Ricardo, can you come up? Good question.
Hi, Gabriel Kane. Did you have any problems with multipath?
No, the links were relatively short link, and also we're not shooting sort of horizontally or in plane with a bunch of other things. We're actually shooting up into the air a bit. So we're a lot of the things where you get multipath from buildings and things like that, we don't see it. That's it? Okay. Thank you very much.